This is a demonstration of how you can use a standby database for queries and reporting. There are two ways you can open up a standby database. One is the normal mode where you open the standby database after stopping redo apply. So no new transactions are applied to the standby database once you have stopped the redo apply. That is, once you have stopped the recovery mode. You can query any transaction that was committed as of up to that point. New transactions do not appear in the standby while it is open as a read-only standby database. So that is useful for reporting, which you do maybe 1 or 2 hours in a day. You just open up, run your reports for 2 hours, and then resume redo apply. So the standby will catch up with the primary. So I'll show you that method first. Both my terminals here are on the standby, and from here you can see that it is receiving redo. You can see sequences that have been received and archived. You can, so for example, 71 was the current sequence, 69 and 70 have already been archived, 72, 73, 74. So it is receiving transactions from the primary and it is also applying them. So this media recovery shows that it is applying the transactions as well. So first I'm going to open up the standby in read-only mode in a method that does not require any additional licensing. To do that, I will have to cancel recovery. Okay. So I have stopped recovery of the database. So you can see here the background media recovery process has been shut down. So it will not be applying any new redo, but that does not mean it will not be receiving redo. Redo from the primary will continue to arrive at the standby as archive logs, which you will see in subsequent over the next few minutes. So once I've stopped recovery, I can open the standby. And then open up the pluggable database. Sorry. So you see here the pluggable database has also been opened in read-only mode, while the standby is now open for read-only access. The whole standby is for read-only access, and the pluggable database is also open in read-only mode. So if I can connect as a normal user, so my PDB1 standby is the connect string for the standby database. I'll just show you that. Okay, so I'm connecting to standby host, and the service name is my PDB1. I can run this query from my pluggable database because I have privileges as a DBA, so I can query $instance $database from within the pluggable database. So I am connected to standby, and the database is a physical standby. It's open in read-only mode, and this is the current SCN. Now we will see that the SCN will not increment, although it is continuing to receive archive logs 76, 77, and so on have been coming in. So the new redo is coming in from the primary, but it is not getting incremented at the standby. Let me just wait a while. Let's wait for the next archive log, and then we'll see if the SCN got incremented at the standby. We are receiving a new archive log approximately every 1 minute because that's the rate of redo generation that's happening at the primary in my test environment. So any redo that is coming in to the standby while I have issued this command will be applied. Okay, so this causes it to be applied, and when I say recover standby database cancel, it means redo will be received but will not be applied. So recover manage standby database will cause it to apply, recover manage standby database cancel will cause it to not apply, just receive redo but not apply. So if we've received some more redo that we see from the alert log, but you can see the standby in SCN has not incremented. This is a transaction table that is being populated from the primary, so I'll just query that. And we can see the last transaction received was at 4:32, transaction ID 25 at 4:32. There's been nothing received since that. So it's been quite some time since I stopped redo apply. Right, that's where I stopped the redo apply. And it's continuing receiving transactions but not applying them. So this is, now I can query my data. I can keep querying, I can query multiple tables in my standby, and the tables will be as of this point in time. This SCN. It will not show any data that occurred at the primary after this SCN. This is the last stop point for the standby, because that is how I have opened a standby with recover manage standby database cancel. So I'm going to now open it up again in another mode, which will require the active DataGuard license, which means that second mode says I will continue applying redo, but I will still open the database in read-only mode. Okay, just to connect to sysdb again. So I've closed my PDB1. Don't try alter database close at the the CDB level when you connect as sysdba. That will just likely hang. If you want to restart recovery for the container level, that is at the CDB level, you should shut down and start up again. Okay, so I've shut down the standby. Remember, the primary is still shipping redo. As long as the primary is configured to be running in maximum performance mode or maximum availability mode, primary will continue. Only maximum protection mode will cause the primary to shut down if the standby shuts down. So maximum protection mode is the highest protection mode, but if you shut down the standby, the primary will also halt. I'm not running in maximum protection mode, so that is fine. So I'm starting up my standby again, and then I'm going to resume recovery. Right. So here you can see all the archive logs that were generated earlier while it was frozen, while recovery was frozen, are being applied now. 74, 75, 76, all the way up to 82. And now it's caught up to the current online sequence 83. Now this is a catch here. When you're doing it from the SQL plus command line, if you have started managed recovery, you cannot open it in read-only mode. If you're using dgmgrl, there's a simple one-line command. So in this demo, I'm not showing you DataGuard broker and dgmgrl configuration. So I'm just showing you SQL plus command line. So once you initiate recovery, you cannot open the database in read-only mode from the SQL plus command line. So I'll just cancel the recovery. I'm opening it in read-only mode, so you can see it's now open in read-only mode. I can open the pluggable database. And now I resume recovery after having opened the database in read-only mode. So now it is both read-only and recovery. Okay, let's see. Database role. So now it is physical standby, read-only with apply. You can see the SCN is also incrementing. Let me connect as the normal user. And run the same query again. And SCN is incrementing. So sorry, that's a text and header table. So now I am receiving transactions and applying them. Let me just wait a while. I can see the next transaction should come through soon. 35 was at transaction 35 was at 442. So I am now both in read-only mode and recovery mode. So the way I open the database in read-only and recovery mode is I first open the database in read-only mode, open the pluggable database in read-only mode, and then resume recovery. So in the first method that I did, I just did open database read-only, alter pluggable database read-only, but did not initiate recovery. So that does not require any additional license. But if you initiate recovery after having opened the database, you need the active DataGuard license. So only with the active DataGuard license are you allowed to do this. Of course, the software doesn't check, it doesn't halt you, but there's an internal check. It will keep track saying that you have done recovery while the database is open in read-only mode. So if there were any license audit to happen, they would be able to identify that you opened the database in read-only mode and resumed recovery. So this is called the active DataGuard feature. You open your database in read-only mode, open your PDB in read-only mode, resume recovery, and you can continue receiving transactions, viewing transactions. Of course, you still can't do DML. To do DML from a standby is another feature. Okay, so I will demonstrate that in another video later. So what I've demonstrated is two methods. One is a basic read-only mode, where you open your standby database in read-only mode after cancelling recovery and do not resume recovery. That does not require an active DataGuard license, but that will mean your standby database will halt to that point in time only. Okay, so if I cancel recovery, open read only, open PDB read only, and do not resume recovery, the database does not go forward. It will stop at that point in time, but it is still open for queries. So your queries will continue only up to that last point in time. That is standard read-only mode for a standby database, does not require additional licensing. The other mode is After you cancel recovery, you open your database read only, open your PDB read only, and then resume recovery again. This requires active DataGuard license, but this will allow you to view new transactions as they come in. It is still read only. You can't do DML from the standby, but you can view the latest data in the standby. So the first method would be used where you want to open the standby only for a short period of time, maybe 1 hour a day, run your reports, and then resume recovery after that. So you did need additional licensing. The second method is you want your standby to be accessible all 24 hours of the day, all 7 days of the week, for running reports while it is still receiving and applying redo. This requires the active DataGuard license.